A legend in the industry, a CBS Sports lead college basketball analyst, Bill Raftery joins us. My Florham Park neighbor. Bill, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Is that right? You're near me.
I am. I
didn't realize that.
I live on Summit Road. Berkowitz talks about you all the time, being our neighbor.
Oh, that's we're right by the club there, Brook Lake.
Yeah, that's exactly. I run by Brook Lake probably every day. So every time I run,
Wow.
I probably run by your house, Bill.
Well, I must tell you, I've been a Giant fan because in our town, the best athlete was Alex Webster.
Back in the day, right?
So, Alex was obviously much younger than me, but he was so good to young kids, and that started it. And then I guess from maybe the middle 60s, I went to pretty much every home Giant game. And then I actually went to Shea. I went to Yale. And then I started with a bank, and we had the Giants and the Jets as an account. So every Sunday, could you imagine this? 16 Sundays, well, give or take a Monday night football game, obviously, but we would be in the box at Giant Stadium, and then we'd take customers to dinner. Monday morning, I would need Excedrin. I'd need an ice bag. I mean, and of course, I loved watching you play. And, you know, I just remember let me ask you a question. Did you adjust holding the football, or was that just a recommendation and you took it?
No. So Coach Coughlin, when he came to us, the first thing he said to me was, if you don't learn how to control your fumbling, I don't care how good you are, you're not going to play. And so, Gerald Ingram, who was my running back coach, and I started working on this in the offseason. And he's like, you got to put it high and tight. And even when you're going through contact, it's got to be high and tight. Even if you're running in the open field, it's got to be high and tight. So when we would do our on-field drills, when we were doing our training on the treadmill in the winters, he'd make me hold a football. I'd sit in a meeting room watching film. I'd be holding a football up under my chin, and it just became second nature. So it was a directive from Coughlin, but it was Gerald Ingram who forced it on me. And it changed my career, man. It changed my career.
Unbelievable. You had a great career, too, and your brother as well.
Yeah.
You know, just sliding into the basketball, you know, we had Baylor last night.
Yeah.
And in talking to Scott Drew the day before with the Zoom stuff, which I had never heard of before in my life, but that's all we do now. And he was telling me these kids actually take their basketball to bed.
Get out! Really? Is that superstition? Is that superstition, or is it a functional thing?
So fanatical about handling the ball and, you know, being able to do things that are extraordinary. And I thought it was like it reminds me of when I was a kid. I mean, I'm sure you did the football thing, and it was just part of you, but at a much younger age, you know.
Exactly.
But,
hey, whatever superstition works, Bill, right? We're talking to the great Bill Raftery here on CBS Sports Radio. Bill, you talk about Scott Drew. I just saw this tweet from Alvin Brooks III, who is obviously an assistant coach under Scott Drew. He will be coaching against his father, who is an assistant coach for Houston. Obviously, Baylor and Houston have gone through Alvin Brooks the second in the Final Four. I mean, talk about family and story. How great of a story is that for the Brookses, who are now both in the Final Four? It's been 71 years for Baylor. It's been a long time since they've gotten this far. Scott Drew has done an unbelievable job with this team, and Maceo Teague, who was their star last night, he scored 22 points, is going to join us in our third hour. But tell us about the job that Scott Brooks has done with this Baylor squad. It's really been all year long.
Nobody could imagine how difficult this job was. I mean, they could look it up on, just check the internet. When he got there, it was abysmal. And I went down there. ESPN had a retro game, and it may have been the oldest trio of announcers in your life. Jim Simpson, who was the original ESPN announcer, Judd Heathcote, and myself. We almost topped 250 years of age, you know.
That's nice.
And we sat and watched the practice, and then Judd used to have flowery language. We went upstairs, and Scott is a very religious individual. And, you know, he's got artifacts there, and he's got his brother's great play, you know, the the goal to beat Ole Miss, I guess it was.
Mm-hmm.
Any rate, before we sit down, Judd gets into, what did you take this job for? Are you nuts? This is the worst place. I mean, he's chastising him, and, of course, using some flowery language, and Scott's holding his ears. Oh, I thought it was a great opportunity. And, of course, little did we know what he was able to do. It's just absolutely incredible. And he's changed the way he coaches, too. By that, he used to do a lot of matchup zone stuff and, big-time players, big-name players. And now he's just got really talented kids who have bought in. They're unselfish, and their skill level is just amazing in terms of being able to break their own individual opponent down. They're amazing with the dribble, and I'm sure, last night you probably saw some of the dribble drives that they,
right.
Mitchell in particular was able to beat his guy with your kind of speed through the hole. I mean, this kid, and you know what? He's built like you too. I mean, he's a very strong kid that can just control the opponent, and he gets down low, and he's got like a really sturdy body, but also they can all shoot the ball, which certainly sets up their drive game as well.
Yeah, no, you're right. And part of it is coaching, but you mentioned it, Bill, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes just elite athleticism and diversified athleticism, like the power that you see with some of these kids these days. The thing is, I couldn't run and dribble at the same time. I could run. I just couldn't run and dribble at the same time. Basketball was never my sport. Let me flip to the games to tonight, because I think what Juwan Howard is attempting to do is so unique. And it's not about him bringing this Michigan program back from anywhere, because John Beilein had it where it is for so long. But Juwan Howard, being an iconic player from his days at Michigan, then playing, almost 20 years in the NBA and then being an assistant coach, and this is an opportunity for him to create one of the more unique legacies if he should get to the Final Four, if he should win a national championship. Juwan Howard, he surprises me a little bit of the success and the coaching acumen that he has. And I wonder where he learned it from. Obviously he had good mentors, but where did he learn to control and comport himself the way that he has and keep this Michigan team thriving like they've been all season long?
Well, of course, he had Steve Fisher, who they still have a great relationship. Steve's retired at San Diego State now, and they talk weekly. But I think as his years have grown under the influence, and I hate Knick fans will be upset at me, I bring up Pat Riley's name, the structure at Miami, and then Eric Spoelstra. We have talked to him about it, where he has paid attention to how to run a program. There's a lot of similarities between the pro game and the college game, other than the money, obviously. But
yeah.
He just has a real feel for people too. So you combine, the X and O's and how to do things the proper way and what demands you make of kids, and he's got a lot of kid in him. Right? You've probably seen him dancing with them.
Yeah, of course.
He just has a real good understanding of what they're going through. He can relate to them, and he's learned. He's sat there, I guess, whatever the amount of years it is now, 15 or 16 years, with great coaching, watching every team in the NBA come in and, the preparation that's needed, and then this it's a really good basketball team, but he's made it better. He's put them in spots where they can feel comfortable, where they can take advantage of opponents. He's a real keeper, and he loves being at Michigan, which is obviously an important aspect, because everybody's going to be knocking at his door,
yep.
Both the high level or even a college level, but, it's not much higher than Michigan. So he's just done a masterful job, and it's really been a pleasure to get to know him. I'm getting so old, I did his games when he was there with the Fab Five. So it's a nice little nice to see guys do very well with their career and obviously their lives as well.
Yeah, no, he definitely is, and he's fun to watch, and I know he's going to be a force on the recruiting trail. We're talking to the great Bill Raftery here on CBS Sports Radio, CBS Sports College Basketball lead analyst. We only have about 2 minutes here, though, Bill, but I want to ask you about Mark Few and this job that he's done. He's very specific in who he recruits. He wants guys who are going to get it and understand what Gonzaga is all about, small Jesuit school up in Spokane. He has a system. It works. It's sustainable. He's brought this mid-major into a very prominent up to a very prominent level. And I would ask, is this sustainable? But we know it's sustainable. But is it sustainable at this Final Four level, especially if he doesn't ultimately win a championship?
Well, everybody forgets what a good season you've had if you don't do well or if you don't get in the NCAA. And ultimately, if you don't move as far as your fan base feels. But you're right about what he's done here. He's just raised it into, he's the blue plate special kind of a thing at this point, where I don't know the young man because, I'm not on top of the high school recruiting. Because everybody's great. Every program, the coach will tell me it's our best recruiting year. And then you start doing the games, and 3 of the guys aren't on the floor, But he just signed a top kid, so if Suggs leaves, apparently this kid is one of those upper echelon players. So they are now able to attract kids from other programs, and I'm sure you'll be talking about the portal.
Yes.
It's over 1,000 kids are now in that portal, and a lot of them are very good players. It's the Wild West. And he's been able the last couple of years to get a couple of kids that were willing to transfer and play at that level. But, this is a wonderful opportunity for him. They're playing a team with great length, and that they played a lot of man-to-man all year, USC, but they went into the zone the other day, which obviously they have been practicing because it's very difficult to get points around the basket, and Gonzaga is great at diving, reading situations, and finishing at the rim. And a lot of that, because of the Mobley brothers, is going to be taken away. So it'll be interesting to see what they're able to come with. But, Few, he's a keeper. I mean, he just minds his own business. He may be the only coach, Tiki, that I can call in February, and I'll say, "Where are you?" He said, "Well, I'm in Canada. I'm fishing." He's like, "I'm fishing." One of our alums, we come up here. Now, could you imagine doing that in the ACC?
Never.
Your head coach in football or basketball was
never.
Down in the Bahamas. So he knows where he is. They've got it going. It's a great facility. The fan base they have is incredible. And he just has, again, I think the key to the success for all these guys, because you're supposed to know your game, is the relationship with players.
Yeah.
And it's not how you treat them. You have to have that innately.
Yeah. No,
you got to be quality. Well, because you've played different coaches all your life.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.